Alright, so welcome to this Unreal Engine 5 tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do a full interaction system from the ground up with the default first-person character. So opening doors with your mouse, turning levers up and down, turning wheels left and right, things like that. This is actually the first video on my second channel. If you want to check out my first channel where I do a lot of VR content and other Unreal Engine 5 stuff, then go check out Rex Reality on YouTube. But anyway, we're here in the first-person template. Literally just the default you can get. Still got the arms in here. But yeah, that's literally all we've got, and we're going to build on from that. I'm also going to have chapters on this video where you can find individual separate parts. So, without any further ado, let's get into this. So, I have my static meshes in here already. I've got a simple door, a lever, and a wheel. First thing that we're going to want to do is mess with our input. So let's go to Input, Input Action, and let's just call this Input Action Interacts. That's just going to be a Boolean. That's all fine. We don't have to mess with any of that. Now we're going to go up into Input, and we're going to go to the IMC default. Open our mappings, add a new mapping, and call this one Interact. Let's just select the key value and click, and it will choose the left mouse button by default. And that's everything you need to do in the input. That's literally all done. Oh, and one more thing as well. You're going to want to make sure that your static meshes absolutely have collision where they need to. For instance, my SM wheel, if I look at the collision on this, I've literally just added a box around the wheel here, because there's no point in interacting with the stem of the wheel. So I've literally just added a simple box collision around this. And if you don't know how to do that, all you have to do is come up here to collision, add box simplify collision, and then you can edit it, rotate it wherever you want. And that's how you're going to add it. And you're going to want to do that for all of your meshes as well. And then also for the lever, literally just a simple capsule collision around the handle of the lever. So yeah, make sure that you do that. I'll add this at the start of the video. All right, so let's work on the interaction mechanic. Let's go into open up our first person character blueprint. This is just the default character. Haven't messed with this at all. And we are going to create our new action mapping event, IA Interact. There you go. And we're also going to create our new function, a new function called Interact. Let's do the above ground first in the event graph, and then we can work on the function. So what we need first is we're going to implement our interact event on started. And after that, we're going to have a gate. I'll explain what everything does afterwards. And we're going to put this into the open gate. This will obviously open the gate, and then we're going to connect our enter to triggered. Oh, right, there's one more thing that we need to do. So there's one thing I forgot to do though. We need to create our blueprint interface. So go here to blueprints and go to blueprint interface. Just call this BPI Interact. And this is the interface that you're going to be implementing in all of the blueprints for the things that you're going to be able to interacting in. All your interactable blueprint. We're going to create 3 functions within this BPI. One just called interact. Add a new function. One just called triggering. And another one called stop. With the interact function, we need to create a new input. Make this a rotator. And call this camera rotation. And that is going to be our input to track where the camera is actually looking. And we also need that same one in the triggering function. Camera rotation. Good. Right, that's all done. We can close down our BPI Interact now. Now here on completed, we're going to call our stop message. There we go. And we're going to do something else with that later, but it doesn't matter for right now. And now exit, we're going to want triggering message. There we go. And we're going to have our camera rotation here. Now, out of camera rotation, we want to get world rotation of the first person camera. There we go. And also I forgot to mention in our function interact down here in our first person character blueprint, we're going to want to create an output called actor. And we're going to obviously make this an actor object type. There we go. And plug this into target of stop, as well as the target of triggering. There we go. That's all of the event graph stuff. Now we're going to work on the actual function in the first person character. So just disconnect this and drag this elsewhere for now. What we're first going to do is we're going to create a line trace. This is where it's going to find where you're actually going to be clicking on. So let's create a line trace by channel, just a single one. There we go. Plug that into here. We're going to drag in our first person camera. I'm also going to delete my mesh because I don't need it. And we're going to get the world location of our first person character. And that is going to be the start point of our line trace. Now, out of this, we're going to get the forward vector of our first person character again. We're going to multiply this, and we're going to change this from a vector to a float double precision. Then we're going to add, out of that, we're going to add this to the world location and then connect that to our end. Now, this right here, this is going to be our distance that the line is actually moving. So if you want it to be 10, it'll be like that. And if you want it to be 100, it'll be going even further out. This is just like the range that you're clicking on. So I'm actually going to promote this to a variable to make it a bit easier. And I'm just going to call it distance for now. I'm just going to set this to 200 because I want to be able to click decently far. For debug, we're going to literally just change this to camera. And then for duration, this just allows us to see the line when we're doing that. Now on out hit, we're going to break the hit result and expand this. And we're going to drag out of hit actor. And we're going to check if this is implementing the interface of interact. There it is. This over here. Now we're going to connect this to a branch out of the line trace. There we go. So this is just checking whether the actor that we've connected with has the BPI interface that we are going to add on all of them. So if it does, then we're going to interact with it. Message. And the target is going to be our actor down here as well. Now we're also going to get the camera rotation of our first person camera again. And then finally we can add our return node at the end of this with our actor, hit actor there. All right, done. That's the entire blueprint. So just to go over this again, we're casting a line out from the player's camera by a distance that you can determine yourself. And if an actor was hit, we're checking if it has the interface of BPI interact. And if it does, then we're going to send out the message of interact to our target actor there. That is everything that we need to do in our first person character. Now, to start out, I'm going to create the door, then I'm going to create the lever, then I'm going to create the wheel. So let's start out with our door. So let's create a new blueprint, actor. I'll just call this BP door. And we're going to add our static mesh of our door into here. There we go. If you're sourcing your static meshes from elsewhere, perhaps Sketchfab, that's where I got this door from, it may be offset from the center. So what you want to do is you literally just want to drag it back to the default scene route here. Try and match this up as close as you can get it. We're going to line this up right on the edge of the door. All right, that's good enough. I'm not going to spend too long doing it just for the tutorial, but I'd recommend you try and get it as close as possible for the best results. Anyway, we're now going to go into class settings and we're going to add our inherited interface. It might be under implemented interfaces as well. I think this is a glitch on 5.1, which is what I'm using. It'll work regardless. So you add your interact blueprint interface, and down here under interfaces, you want to maximize this. We're going to add our interact by right clicking and then click implement event, and it's going to add it down here into the event graph. So there are multiple ways to do this. The way that I'm going to be doing it with the door right now is I'm just going to have it so that you click on the door and it will open with a timeline animation. You can also do the dragging if you just scroll ahead to the lever. It's the same thing. You just make sure that it's on the right axis. But for right now, I'm going to literally do the basic thing of clicking on the door and it opens. So for right now, we're not going to need our camera rotation for that because we're literally just clicking on it. It doesn't matter where we're looking. As long as we click on it, obviously it'll work. Let's add our flip-flop node here so that when it's open, it will then close, and when it's closed, it will then open. So we're going to create a new timeline. There we go. Just called timeline. That's fine. And we're going to create our float track. So we're going to click use last keyframe here, and we're going to create a simple timeline for the door opening. I'm just going to have it be over the length of a second. I'm just going to set the value to 90 because obviously 90 degrees is how far I want the door to come out. I'm also going to make this, instead of a linear curve, I'm going to add a bit of a curve to this. So I'm going to right click on the node here and click auto, and the same with the other one. And there we go, it'll give me a nice curve in it. And I think that'll just animate a bit better. By default, it's going to be closed, which means that we're going to want to open it from A. Play, and then this will be reverse. There we go. Now I'm going to add a set actor rotation node after that. Connect that to update. Split the struct pin and connect this to the Z axis. So this will be turning 90 degrees on the Z axis over the time of a second. I think that's everything, unless I've missed something. I guess let's try it. So let's add our door blueprint into the scene. There it is. We're just going to walk up to it. As you can see, the line trace works. So when you click, it will create a line trace however the distance is that you set it away from the camera, which I think is very cool. So let's hope that this works. There you go. Just click on it and it'll go back and forth. And you can also see at which point on the line it detects the door as well in the line trace. And if you want to hide that, say that we don't want to see the line trace, we can just go back into here and change this to from camera to visibility and then draw debug type to none. And then it'll literally just be click. You don't see the line. Very nice. All right, that's the door. As simple as you can get it. Now let's get a bit more complicated and let's say we want to drag the door open. So we're going to just delete the timeline because we don't need that. And instead of event interact, we're going to delete that and we're going to add our event triggering. So interact will literally just run a single frame of when you click and it will just run that one event one time. Event triggering runs the event every frame that you're holding down the mouse click. So this will be just continuously triggering until you let go. I actually haven't done this with the door, so this might not work, but I have high hopes. And we're also going to add our event stop in here as well. Oh, actually, no, we are going to need our event interact as well. So we're going to need all 3 events for this one. Let's split the struct pin of the camera rotation on both of these. And I know what I'm going to want is the Z of the camera rotation here. Because the Z is left and right. And that's where I want to be dragging the door. I want to be dragging the door left and right. We're going to right click on the camera rotation Z. And we're going to promote this to a variable. And we're just going to leave it as camera rotation Z. Now we're going to get this camera rotation Z down here. And we're going to find our event triggering. And we're going to minus from the camera rotation Z here. And we're going to be getting the updated camera rotation and minusing it from the initial one. Now I don't want it to be instant moving. I want there to be a bit of a delay with the door moving and a bit of a dampening on the sharpness basically. I'm going to divide this by 25 so that you have to turn a bit more to get the door to turn. I'll show you what I mean afterwards. Now out of this we're going to add. So now we're going to get actor rotation. There we go, split the struct pin. And we're just going to add on our Z yaw here. Now, out of this, I'm actually going to add a clamp so that you can't just continuously spin it around. And it's going to be, I don't want you to turn it more than 90 degrees either way. So we're going to have minimum of minus 90 and a maximum of plus 90. Out of this, we're going to add, or we're going to set actor rotation. There we go. The target is going to be self, and we're going to split the struct pin and add that to Z. There we go. I actually think this is it. So let's test if this works, firstly. All right. So it's kind of working, but it's inverted. You can see that it's properly clamping to those different values there. But for some reason, it's when I turn left, it's moving right. And when I turn right, it's moving right. Okay, so this does work. It's just because of the angle that I'm at. So when I'm at this angle, I try to move it left and it moves right. But it's because I'm from that angle. If I move it from this angle, then I can close it there. There we go. And I can move it right there and move it left there. There we go. So that works. And I'm going to replicate this with a lever because it works better with a lever, to be honest. So let's make a new blueprint for our lever. BP lever, and we've got to do the same thing of lining up correctly. There we go. So we've lined that up again. We're going to implement our BPI interact interface there again. And literally what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all of this. We actually don't need stop, but stop is great to have anyway. I'm literally just going to copy this and paste it over to our lever blueprint. Add the variables. There we go, compile. And then we have to obviously change our axes over. For my example, I'm going to change this over to the Y axis. So connect this to Y, connect this to Y, connect this to Y, change our clamp range, and connect this to Y again instead. This should work better because you're going to be only coming at it from one angle. Let's add our lever blueprint into the scene. You should probably actually have a HUD with a simple dot in the center of the screen so that you can tell what you're looking at, but I'm just going to try and eyeball it. There you go, okay. So it works, but we're on the wrong axes. I'm actually going to create a simple HUD here because this is very annoying. I've created a simple HUD here made out of a full stop so that I can actually see where I'm pointing at. And it still isn't working. There we go. Okay, I had the wrong axes. I had the Y axes when apparently it is the X axes that I needed. I would recommend that you do this with relative location instead of actor, because actor obviously affects in world space. But there we go, it works now. I just drag up and also, so you can see the dampening here. I have to drag quite a long way for it to actually move. But if I want to make that a bit more sharp, then all I have to do is change this divide. But I can even eliminate that just to make it instant if I really wanted to. So if I just come around here, now it's really fast. But I don't like that. I like a bit of dampening to it. So literally, I'm just going to maybe change this to 10. Let's try 10. See if that's any better. There we go. That's a bit better. So yeah, you can play around with that if you want to. You can even, to make things a bit more simpler, you could just promote this to a variable and call this dampening. There we go. And then you can play around with that variable as much as you want. But there we go. It works. It works perfectly fine with the lever. I'm assuming when I go behind it, it's going to be inverted. Never mind. Okay, interesting. The door also, it kind of works, but I'd recommend with the door, you just do the click method. It's a lot easier. Anyway, that's the lever and the door done. Now we can work on the wheel. The wheel is essentially the same, to be honest, but I'm still gonna go through it anyway, just to show you how it works. Create our new blueprint class, actor, add our static mesh of the wheel into there, and we've got to make sure that this is positioned correctly as well. I'm gonna position the pivot point right at the center of this wheel at where I want it to be rotating from. And also mine's a bit angled. So I'm actually going to add a new scene in here and make sure that this is angled to the wheel here. There we go. Now all I have to do is turn it on the Z axis and it will turn the whole wheel. Perfect. Let's do the same thing. Class settings, add our BPI interact. Then we're going to add our interact event and our triggering event as well. Let's just do this from scratch instead of copy and pasting this time, even though we probably could. So left and right is the Z axes from that. So we're going to promote this to variable and just call it camera rotation Z. This is our initial rotation. There we go. Add this in here. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to subtract from this. We're going to divide this to make a bit of a dampener. Divide this by 10, and it's probably a good habit to just promote this to a variable anyway called dampening. We're also going to grab our scene here. And this time we're going to use relative location because that's better. So get relative, if I could spell it correctly, rotation. Split this struct pin and we're going to get the Z, yes. Add the Z of that to this, there we go. And we're also going to do the same thing of clamping this to, I'm going to make it so that you can turn it quite far, -20, -120 and +120 there. Drag out of our scene and we're going to set relative rotation, here we go. Split this struct pin, add the Z into there, connect that to there, bing bang bosh, you should be done. Let's test if this works. Add our wheel blueprint into the scene, there we go, play, and let's see if this works. Alright, so forgot to do one thing. A good habit is to do this as well. So you want to get relative rotation, split the struct pin, and connect the pieces that are currently at 0 to just be filled in with the current relative rotation so that you're not setting it back to 0 every time. And there you go. I got the wrong axes apparently. Instead of rotating this relatively, I'm going to set this back to 0 so that I can just rotate it again in the scene by 45 degrees. So my scene is now, it looks like this here, but in our scene we can rotate it and now this should work perfectly. There you go. It will lock at 120 degrees and there you go. You have your wheel. So this is for any advanced people who want to do stuff with this wheel. So if you want to make a go-kart, for instance, by turning this wheel, you can always export this out. Say you want to export it to the door blueprint, just as a placeholder. We're going to create a custom event. We're going to call this update wheel. There you go. I'm going to create a new input of a float. And we're just going to call this value. There you go. Now all we have to do is after this, we let's get the actor of class. This will just be your blueprint of choice. Say it's the go-kart, for instance. And we're going to update wheel. And we're going to connect our value to this clamp float here. Or you can even just connect it to this. That works as well. And now the door will be getting all of that information just to show you. Let's create a print string. Connect this to the value. And our door will now be printing the string value of our float. There we go. And that's it. That's the interaction system that I have to show for you guys. If you like this tutorial, then let me know in the comments. Let me know if it was actually helpful or not. Let me know if I explained anything well enough. Sometimes I skip past a lot of things. So if something wasn't clear enough to you, then let me know and I will try and give you a better explanation in the comments. You can also join my Discord and I can give you a better insight into how things work over there. But yeah, that's the simple interaction system that I have to show for you guys. Don't subscribe to this channel, that is pointless. If you want to support me, then subscribe to my main channel, Rex Reality. But over here, I'll be uploading maybe some random content, stuff that isn't worthy of the main channel. Unreal Engine tutorials like this and other things like that. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and good luck with your Unreal Engine 5 projects.